And we are live. Welcome to the Sunday Roast. This is a special Sunday Roast with just myself and Alex today. Alex, can you tell us a little bit about today's Sunday Roast?
And we are live.
Oh,
Welcome
wow.
to the...
Oh, wow. You see, never do anything live. Go on, sorry, Max, you were saying?
Can you tell us a little bit what we're going to talk about today?
I'm going to do a recap, I think. A bit of a recap, throw it over to the audience, what they want to talk about, what they want to ask us. We've got some questions we want to ask the audience as well. We definitely want to say a big thank you to everyone, because you've totally supported us in this brand new sort of venture that we've done. And we've done 3 seasons in 1 year, which is pretty cool. How that quite works, I don't know, but we've made it work. And yeah, we just keep on growing. It's been fabulous. All the guests that we've had on as well. Haven't had any controversy or conflict.
Not yet.
Not yet. Came close. We've come a little bit close. Talking about, I think, monarchy and liberal values. But it's been a huge and brand new sort of experience for us both. What about you, Max? What are your thoughts been on all this year?
It was because I had started out doing some interviews myself, and when you approached me and said let's do the Sunday Roast, let's start doing something like this, I was like, yeah, this is wonderful, because it's we can approach it from a different angle. You can throw some questions in as well, and then make it much more interesting. And this year has been amazing because we've had so many really interesting guests. We've had some people back. We had some new people. We had some very high-profile people who most people know, some people didn't know, but that was it was great to have those on, and hoping to have them back again next year as well.
Definitely, every one of them, to be honest.
Yeah,
because we've had quite a range of guests in terms of economists, journalists, celebrities, political influencers, social media influencers, people within the political game as well, and young and old. We've definitely tried to pick a range. Because one of the things I noticed or felt was that the number of female political commentators wasn't out there. And wow, like we found a lot of people, but I'm curious to know what other people think. We throw it back onto you guys. Like, tell us what you think. What have you enjoyed this year? And I'm gonna. Should we talk about events? Because we're only on for half an hour. Everybody. This is like a short end of year goodbye, thank you thing. So we could talk about events. Do we talk about UK politics, which would be nuts?
No, it was really boring this year. How many prime ministers were there? 3? 4?
3. The year of 3 prime ministers and 2 monarchs.
Yes.
Good. Well, there's still chance for there to be 3 monarchs and 3 prime ministers. The year ain't out yet, or a 4th prime minister. I do find it interesting how, you tell me, Max, if you've noticed this. Sunak broke the law. The thing that pulled down Johnson, Sunak did. But there's loads of footage of Sunak going, I didn't see anything. Both in the Commons, which I don't know if he's corrected yet, but also on TV with Kunzberg and someone else, I think, interviewed him. He just directly said no. But he's now in office. How does that work? I mean, any thoughts from you on that?
No, it's just insane how. Yeah, it's like Boris Johnson was brought down because of the lying, and because of the, in a sense, the corruption. But Sunak is just repeating all of that once again. It's just, we just continue to lie. Yeah, he lied to Parliament, and what's ironic is Sunak was the one who really stuck the knife in first. Yeah, it was the balance between him and Sajid Javid, but it was really him that was behind it, and that really pissed off, I think, a lot of Boris Johnson supporters, and that's why a lot of them are demanding that he return. I don't see him coming back, but there's a growing to get Boris back in.
Are we doing future predictions? Is this the end of the year show? I love your hat, by the way.
Thank you. I borrowed
So future
it.
predictions for Prime Minister. Do we dare go? Do you reckon Sunak will be out by next year? Or do you think he'll last to the end? He'll just keep his head down?
It's not looking very good because they've lost two. Well, they lost one by-election and didn't hold on. Well, didn't win over another one. The latest one was really expected it was expected Labour would win it, but another few by-elections and there's going to be pressure on him to do something. But then the Tories can't just throw in another person because there's going to be a bigger call for a general election, and then with the cost of living, with the strikes, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to muddle through. He sort of painted himself into a corner by saying, okay, we're not going to negotiate with the nurses. Well, if he said, yeah, we will negotiate, I think it would actually improve his standing. It
probably would.
It would piss off a few Tories, but there's also a number of Tories who are saying, yeah, we need to do something. We can't take on all the unions. If it's one or two unions, that's one thing, but if it's just Mick Lynch, which they'd love, but there's so many unions going on. No,
I think
some of them feel I could definitely take on Mick Lynch, but
they've definitely thrown a few people at him just to see what happened, and he just ripped them apart because he just went, they're making loads of profit. Why are they allowed to make profit and then tell us there's no money? That doesn't work.
Mm.
And that's like his entire argument. And then they're stumped because they're like, yeah, how are they, mate? It's almost like you see the cogs whirring in their head, being like, yeah, they are making profit, but they tell us there's no money. It's like, yeah, they're lying to you. Shock. Or they've offered them a board position as soon as they leave Parliament, which will be interesting because it does look like they're all screwed. Just on the topic of the election, there was something else that happened. So we talked about Chester. I mentioned the by-election in Chester, and we've talked about it. Did you see the results for Manchester?
Yeah, it was the Rejoining You did pretty well, didn't they?
1.3%, and that's up from Chester. But
they have but they do have a massive budget, don't they?
What, the Rejoining You party? Oh yeah, hundreds of pounds.
Tens of pounds.
He had a budget of 250 quid, and he came. If you look at it in two leagues, he came second in the second league, and you're like, how do you do that with 200 quid? Interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
And it says to me that things are starting to change because I think it is going to become, again, either you're for Brexit or you're against it, or you're for rejoin, or you're an isolationist. I think is the new sort of topic. Do you want to isolate yourselves, or do you want to be part of a group that's pretty powerful? And I don't see. I mean, if we're talking future predictions, what do you see for the UK economy? Do you think it can bounce back and be better than Germany and all the others?
No, I don't think so. Oh. Because if I uploaded a video the other day with Jacob Rees-Mogg, and you did a wonderful response to it as well, where Jacob Rees-Mogg was challenged by a man in the wine industry, and sorry, just looking at the chat, and Mogg was destroyed, of course. But what this guy was saying is, his industry is suffering because of Brexit, and it's not getting any better. And there was also I had a video on a company, a small business in the UK that produces physiotherapy equipment, electronic equipment for physiotherapy, and they said, look, here is what we had before Brexit, one-page document, an invoice or a delivery document or whatever, and now we have a whole range of new documents. They all have to be completed. We have to use a new system. And then there's the time of filling it out and whether you need staff to fill it out. So you may need to hire people. That's a cost. So this is not going to get any better. It's going to get worse until somebody decides, okay, we need to be honest with the public about Brexit, and then start realigning with the European Union.
Yeah. Well, you did a great video on that as well.
Thanks.
And I looked at what was being said, and I've listened to a number of the political programs where they're obviously throwing out ideas, and they keep saying they're going to do more. There's a conflict in the party, some want alignment and the others want diversification, and you can't have both, and it's that they want to have their cake and eat it, and it's not possible. But no one, again, I don't see people challenging them on this. They seem to think they can get free trade into the EU, and then they can go off and do whatever they want and set up their own standards. And it's like, but that, you can do that. I mean, the chemical industry can do it. It's just going to, I think, cost them about 100 million a year. How does that work?
And who pays for that?
We do, because it wrecks our business. We can't compete with that. I mean, the other thing is, are we doing the same with EU standards? Are we saying if you want to import into the UK, or do we just say we instantly recognise EU standards? In which case, all I see happening is money being funneled out of the UK slowly. It'll just be a slow puncture of money going into the EU, which we've already seen anyway, because a load of the UK businesses to trade in the EU have then invested in the EU. So it's like, well, instead of investing in the UK, they've just wasted a load of money in the EU, wasted from our perspective. And from the EU, it's like, brilliant. You've just created new jobs, you've improved infrastructure, you've built brand new warehouses. And even if we realign, we've still got all of that infrastructure and warehouse development that you've just paid for as long as it lasts, for a few 100 years or 100 years or something. So I don't see, we've just nobbled ourselves. I don't see a way out of it. I also, just onto the next thing, within that, 9% of the vote went to the Reform Party, which is interesting, because they can only, I assume the majority of that is yanking votes from the Tory party. So I wonder if the Tories are ever going to recover now. Because the Reform are taking, 10% of the vote. And that 10% could have gone to the Tories. Yeah, I assume some of it might be some staunch nationalist Labour voters as well.
Yeah, there may be, but I don't see the Reform Party actually like getting into Parliament. I think it's purely just an attempt to push the Tories to the right. It's about convincing more and more Tories, actually, you should be more right wing, you should be more anti-immigrant, you should be more anti-woke, whatever. And this is the sole purpose of this party. It like the Brexit party in 2019. They weren't expecting to win seats. They were hoping that it would convince Johnson to push for a hard Brexit, or as hard a Brexit as possible.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think UKIP members also just signed up and became Conservative members.
Yeah.
I think there was a clip on Politics Live as well on that, where they had said they had signed up. What was it? A monkey or something, and a toy puppet. And they registered them as Conservative members and brought it up with the Conservative Party, and they looked really shocked. It's like anyone can register, which isn't too shocking considering the amount of interference from Russia that we've had over this year. And then there's a segue. So Russia, Ukraine. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it took many people by surprise. So at the beginning of the year, many countries, especially in Europe, in Western Europe, were saying, no, this war isn't going to begin. It's just nuts. Putin isn't going to invade. It's just saber rattling. While the Eastern European countries were saying, no, we have to be very concerned about this. There's a real concern here. There's a real risk. And at the beginning, of course, the Russians made massive gains, and we're on the gates of Kiev, and it was looking possible that it would go the other way. I'm just checking in the chat. Is there a problem with the audio? I hope the audio is okay. There could be a bit of a delay.
Apparently, audio is a mess.
Oh no!
Can everyone hear us? If you can, just type in the word yes right now.
Yeah,
I've got a couple of people saying audio is a mess. But for everyone else, can you hear us? Are you able to hear us clearly?
We may need to tweak this in some way.
Could be because it could be something to do with mono and stereo. Apparently that's happened in one of my videos.
Yes, we can hear you. A bit rough. Okay.
Okay. Audio is sound.
It's probably one bit. Well, okay. Yes.
Shall we do Simon Says?
The audio is fine for me. So maybe it's just one
Okay.
or two people have audio problems.
It's like
with
his.
it, slight his, but we can try and iron that out for next time.
We'll blame Putin again.
Yeah.
It's always Putin, guys. It's nothing to do with us. Yeah. Do you think that's the end of Putin then? And do you think he's crazy?
Yes, he is insane.
You think he's insane? I don't think he is. I think he. It's difficult to. How do you define crazy? Why do you think he's crazy?
In 2022.
Yeah, in 2022, Trump doing an attempted coup. God, we haven't even talked about that. Trump attempted a coup, and it's like in America they can't handle that because he should be under arrest. Like if he pulled that crap under George Washington, he'd be shot and dead.
Yeah.
Like he would have been charged with a coup. That would have been the end of it. I don't understand how anyone else doesn't see that. I assume that everyone's worried about civil war in the States. But going back to Putin being crazy, why do you think he's crazy?
Because he's pouring so much resources into this, and he's expecting that it will result in a victory. But he doesn't either. He knows, or he doesn't care, or he doesn't realize that I think he thinks if he plays it long enough, he'll whittle down support for Ukraine in the West, and there is that risk that certain countries in Europe would say, okay, it's a cost of living crisis here. We're under pressure politically to stop supporting Ukraine. I think there is he's hoping for that to happen, but on his side, he can't play this for much longer. His economy is in tatters, and it seems to be every one tank he creates, the Ukrainians destroy immediately. So he's not able to replace the weaponry fast enough. And there is also a shortage of microchips, for example, in the world. So that's putting pressure on. And then the sanctions are limiting the materials they need. And then there are issues of corruption as well. I've seen so many videos online of Russian soldiers stealing from the local populations, but stealing food. Yeah. Because the rations they get are not sufficient. I've seen a number of reports from American generals who are saying this is not how you run an operation. And
well, depends on how you look at it. I mean, he is a dictator, warlord. No arguing over that. Napoleon operated on that. They just took everything from the surrounding area, because then you don't have to worry about supply lines so much. You just script. I'm not suggesting that it's ethically allowed.
No, I understand.
In modern warfare, it's totally illegal. But as a policy, it's been done before with great success. We can debate over the successes of Napoleon. I think he lost 88 battles and he lost 8 or 9. I think it is in total. And considered, the general of his generation globally. And, you had some big hitters at that point. Like, I think Robert E. Lee was kicking around and considered one of the greatest. But, Napoleon was the one at the forefront of all of this. So it's a doable tactic. It's ethically immoral, wrong, and there are problems with it. You're not going to win over the local population.
But also, it's not good for morale either.
No, because everyone's scrounging around. But it seems like he's also gone Stalin-esque. So from what I was listening to, a military historian who was reporting, I think for Sky News, had been doing a lot of reporting for Sky News. He said they put up battalions behind the lines, so if you retreat, you get shot. I'm like, right, so you've gone full Stalin.
Yeah. And
it's like, wow, and you still can't win. Stalin had that policy, but I mean, he also had other things. He had a huge industrial complex behind him. He had American war materials and everything else behind him. Russia doesn't have that. I don't think it even has the infrastructure to do that. Whether or not he's crazy, though, I think he was given. I think he's very similar to Hitler. They wanted a German empire. He wants a Russian empire. He couldn't deal with the issues that took place after the collapse of the Cold War. He's never lived in the West. Maybe that would have actually chilled him out a bit if he'd spent time in Paris or London or New York and gone, oh, this is Western living. But he's an ex-KGB agent, probably brainwashed to a certain extent. But he's never changed. Like, if you look at his policies when he ran for mayor, he pulled in the local mafia, bribed them, used that to, like, rig stuff, to make stuff work for him as a political maneuver. I don't think he's really changed at all. And so that bears the question of, is he crazy, or is he just, an atypical warlord?
Mm.
I don't look at Genghis Khan and go, he's nuts. I just go, he's Genghis Khan and he's an evil warlord. I think there's that split between the two. And if you can look back historically and go, well, that person did it, but we don't call Napoleon crazy. But what he did was vicious and awful. So it's a really interesting question. I'm also very aware of the time.
So we have a few things, a few top of 2022, don't we? We have a few, the best of, no?
So yeah. So for the audience who are listening, we're only on for half an hour, so we're going to throw you some questions. What was your best of video for 2022 from the Sunday roast? I think that's a fair question. So that's the first question we'd love to ask you guys. Like, you tell us, like, is that what was your best video? What was your favorite video? I think that's a pretty good one. And then I'm going to throw that over to you, Max. What was your favorite video? And I'm not saying for the Sunday roast. Yours is, because we're not playing favorites for what we've done.
Okay.
But what was your favorite video of 2022 from YouTube?
I don't know, actually. There's been so much. It'll have to be one where there was one, but I can't remember. That there was where Tory MP was called out on something, but I don't remember what it was. What about yourself?
Happened a lot.
Yeah, there's every week there's something, but I just can't pinpoint one particular one. Do you have a favorite video of 2022?
I can say a video series. Joe Rogan I've been enamored with. I'm aware there's controversial stuff. I haven't heard or seen him say anything controversial on his show yet. But the Joe Rogan series has been really compelling. The guests he's got on there have been quite phenomenal. And as well as his interview technique, like, he really gets them to open up about stuff and dissect, and he's able to just listen, which I don't think a lot of people do these days. Yeah,
in these types of debates, it's always, okay, we have to argue about something and we have to speak over each other. So yeah, he does tend to listen. He's extremely controversial, which is probably something that's a positive and
really?
A negative for for many people.
Have I missed out on something here with Joe Rogan? Someone's put in the chat, Suella stupidity. Yeah, that's up there.
Actually, yeah. I think probably one of the best videos I saw was Suella Braverman. In that, I think it was wonderful that I don't know if you saw it. Suella Braverman in the select committee, where a Tory MP, so it wasn't somebody from the opposition, a Tory MP asked her how a teenage boy from Africa would get to the UK, through a safer route, and she gave up. She mumbled something and then gave up and gave the question over to her colleague, and it just that was the moment when she, this was crash and burn, really, because this is our entire policy, this is our entire ideology, in a sense, come crashing down, because the whole thing was the Tories were trying to sell this idea that if you want to get to the UK, you have to come through the legal routes. But this Tory MP, wonderful, he gave this, okay, give us an example for this, how to come through the legal route for this particular boy from Africa. And she was like, when you arrive, yeah, but how do you arrive? It was wonderful. So
they just don't. I can't tell if they don't think these things through, or they deliberately don't want to bring them up because it's not working for their narrative. Do you know what I mean? Or is it a combination of both?
So that's why it'd be wonderful to sit down with one of them off the record and ask them, what do you think of this? And I have a feeling it's ideological. I think it's about, we need to win, and we'll use whatever means necessary. There are racists and bigots. We're happy to have those people on board if it helps us win. That's what it's all about. I'm just looking in the chat. We have Led by Donkeys. Matt Green also got a mention.
Yes.
Eddie
Have I
Izzard
done
got.
PPE? Oh, that's interesting. I've got a video coming out on that on Monday. Eddie Izzard trying to speak Old English to a Frisian farmer. I'm not saying that.
Professor Tim was also got a mention.
Yeah,
Professor Tim is somebody I think I was introduced to him by you, Alex, this year. So I was really happy to have a chat. Tim is wonderful. Tim is is a larger than life character.
Yeah. Steve Bray. That's a larger than life character.
Davey.
Wow.
Davey and Jenny, from from Scotland.
I learned so much from their video on Scotland, the bias that they get to receive and how much they hate it, as well as learning how to text in Scottish, which is one heck of a video to watch. Michael Lambert is wonderful. I'll have to tell everyone this. I'll have to spread the love a little bit. It is Christmas after all. What was the funniest event for you this year? Because Suella Braverman getting done over is one of the best, but it's also it's probably up there as one of the funnest. Would you agree, or have you got something else?
Damn, I should have done some preparation for this.
I can tell you mine if that'll help.
Yeah, go ahead.
Femi nailing Michael Gove to rights. That was funny. Because you could see Michael Gove was just desperately trying to get away, and he looked like a complete idiot. That was pretty entertaining. Entertaining or funny? I'm trying to think, because there's always that nuance, isn't there? I guess when you're saying funny, it's which video really made you laugh out loud? Russell Howard did a pretty good job. Noreen Skinner doing the Liz Truss impersonations and Liz Truss needing to go to the loo. That was funny. That was a really good video, actually. How she just nailed that. Such a shame, though. She only got 3 months of. Yeah. Well, is it a shame?
It's good for the country, maybe bad for her. But also for me, what was the video? There was. Oh, now I've forgotten. It lapses completely. I lost that.
What was your most angry moment? Because I've heard your tone in your videos. I could definitely tell when you're like, argh.
It's probably one of them where there was a Tory MP who visited a food bank, and he was smiling. He was smiling to the camera, and that really pissed me off, because it's for me it's the idea that there are people struggling at the moment, and you're going to a food bank and getting your photograph taken with members of the food bank. It wasn't Dominic Raab, he did it as well, but there was another Tory MP who did it, and it really upset me, because these are people who would vote in the House of Commons against measures to help people, and then there's a food bank opening in the area, I'll go there for a photo opportunity, and it really annoys me. Or when they
imagine if that happened in Charles Dickens and Scrooge. Not only is he not paying Tiny Tim, he's then going over and taking a turkey just to look good for a publicity stunt. Be awful.
Or posing with the children from the workhouse for his political campaign.
Then taking all the stuff away afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what's her name? Penny Mordaunt as well. See, with the my God.
And she doesn't get it. She can't. You could see that the two things can't compute to her. That's why she's done it. Buy my book and give a bit, and you're like, why not just not buy the book and give the whole amount?
Yes.
Total idiot. Oh dear. Angriest event. The Russian interference and the lack of chat about it. Interestingly, I stirred the pot a bit because I wrote to a few MPs and explained to them exactly what happened in January and how the timeline works. And then we got to March and it was being brought up in the comments a lot.
Yeah.
And then of course Ukraine happens and there's an invasion. But I get quite angry about that. It's sort of just been again, brushed under the carpet. Don't talk about it. Just a bit like the coup with Trump. There's an element of the US media that just can't handle the fact that someone's attempted a full-on coup. And I'm pretty sure if any of those people had gone into the chamber, they would have lynched them.
Yeah.
There were actual gallows outside with the chant of lynching. And I think that would have happened. And over here, I mean, we literally burn at forks every year. November for treason. And you're like, Boris literally told the public there was no interference, and there was, which is in the report. And then the other stage of the report says no one bothered to look at the other events. We know it happened here in 2014, but we haven't looked since. And you're like, right, that's mental. Unfortunately, we're at the end.
We're at the end. Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, Super Tan's got a like.
Yeah. 30p Lee as well.
What's the final question you want to ask, Max?
What was the most heartwarming moment of this year for you?
Oh, that's tough. I think the Ukrainians pushing back the Russian invasion, seeing how it was all collapsing for Putin that sounds quite strange, but it's almost like finally some liberalization in Ukraine. I can't say, I mean, because the Tories have been in, I don't feel there's been much heartwarming stuff. It's been, well, no. Actually, you know what? I'll say this as a heartwarming moment. Starting to look at the data coming out of the census, the 2021 census, because you're starting to see all the stuff that Nigel's been scared of and scaremongering about was starting to show that it was untrue. And that was literally a case of people starting, like minority groups, and let's choose a better terminology for that, starting to see that there was cohesion happening between groups and that there was mixed marriages happening at like 15%. And I've got to be honest, like seeing the atheists suddenly come out and go, actually, we don't want to really follow Christianity. I was like, wow, that's a huge step. Considering the previous census had said something on the opposite until you then delved into the data. But there was two big heartwarming moments, like atheism coming to the forefront and seeing that actual social cohesion was taking place, and that all the evil rhetoric coming out from the right, Nigel was just starting to disappear, like all his threats and everything else wasn't actually bleeding through into the public, or not completely. A significant part of the public starting to go, you know what, actually they seem all right, let's hang out. In fact, I'll fall in love. So that would be my heartwarming moment. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think on the one side you had the cost of living where people are struggling at the moment, but I saw so many people pushing like to support each other, a greater sense of community as well. Recently I saw a video in I think it was in Shetland in Scotland, where it's so cold that people are not able to heat their homes, but what it's done is it's brought the community together. It brought it back to it, and maybe, you know, we've gone through a period where we become very individualistic, where we just want to block ourselves off from the rest of the community. And, you know, it's not something positive, a cost of living crisis, but maybe something positive out of it is a greater sense of community where people are coming together. It shouldn't have to happen like this way, but I think it's something very positive. And something that really moved me the other day, it was just a few days ago, there was a man who called into LBC he said, look, I can't feed myself, I have a dog, I can't feed the dog, we're struggling. He was crying on the phone. And I thought something wonderful was how people started calling in the show, asking how to help him out, how to support him. And his local MP was contacted, or his local MP heard about this, Liberal Democrat. And he said, look, don't worry, we're going to sort this out. And as far as I know, they were able to get him the support he needs. A charity organised food parcel for him, so that was on its way. And people from the community have gone to visit him. And this is something really important, I think, is it's not just about providing material support. People also need community as well. They need somebody just to come around and have a chat, have a cup of tea with them, and talk with them about, because I think one of the worst things is the loneliness during this period, and it's great to see, in a period where we're becoming more and more individualistic, we're becoming very polarized also with politics. It's good that we're still seeing a sense of community, and it's sad that it's necessary to go through like this, but it's good that there's some silver lining here. That was for me the most heartwarming. So I think we'll have to stop here, no?
Have to stop here, yeah, half an hour.
And
over half an hour.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Alex.
Bye.
And we'll see you all in the new year.
Yeah, mid-January, I think we said. January 15th, we'll come back for a new season, new year, more guests. Keep on going. Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.